Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome in to the week 2 edition of the Sunday Sideline Report here on the Sports Insanity Network YouTube page. Mike, the old ops guy, and Danny Boy Reginald here for the first time. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome into week 2. How we doing?
Doing very well, thank you. It's always good to be 1-0 and not concussed.
Yeah.
That's a little mean. Especially with some of the slip ups you've had, man.
But let's be honest, Mike. They should be 0-2 to start the season.
Hey, man, listen, you take the win last week. We'll go over what happened Thursday night in a bit. Get into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm feeling okay. My brother, he's in Nashville today. He's gonna watch the Jets over at the stadium. And I really hope, just for his sake, because he drove so many hours, I really hope for his sake that the Jets win.
So your brother went from St. Louis to Nashville? Because your brother
Yes.
lives in St. Louis, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes. I mean, Tennessee, the Tennessee line's not that far, but like Nashville pretty much. And yeah, they better win.
Listen, I'm kind of with you because some of us may have bet the Jets minus the 4.5. Oh, maybe Aaron Rodgers you play well this week.
The key's the defense. Offense, whatever. The defense better show out, because if Will Levis walked over your ass just like Brock Purdy did, we're gonna have a major problem.
Here's the weird thing about Will Levis, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about this week. Will Levis needs a sponsorship with Levi Jeans already, just because of the name. But yeah, we'll get into a lot of the games today in a little bit. We'll jump into Thursday night in a few minutes. I actually want to jump around. I want to start with this whole new case around Deshaun Watson. If you missed it earlier this week, a new lawsuit against Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson has come to light. I have an article from CBSSports.com. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson faces another civil lawsuit alleging sexual misconduct filed Monday in Texas. And as it relates to the NFL and his employment status, what's at issue is whether he violated the terms of his August 22 settlement with the league. Sources tell CBS Sports it is believed that the allegations in the latest civil lawsuit would not be covered under his reinstatement agreement, and if a violation of the league's personal conduct policy is found, Watson could again face punishment from the NFL, including a fine and/or suspension. There was also an article from Monday Morning Quarterback this week after this came to light, if the Browns could potentially get out of the $238 million contract that they fully guaranteed to Deshaun Watson. So as we go forward, I will take pieces from the article, but initial reaction to another lawsuit coming to Deshaun Watson.
Not to say that I'm surprised. I'm sure people are getting quote unquote braver by the minute after they see what other people got and whatnot. It'll depend on whether it fractures any of the rules set forth or standby. Is this a hoax? Is this whatnot? We'll find out more in the days to come.
Well, we'll find out more, not this week, but next week when the victim is supposed to meet with the NFL. So,
Okay.
Dan.
I'm over it. I'm over him. The Browns need to just admit, I know they can't get rid of that contract because it has so many guarantees, and the cap space and all that stuff. It's gonna be really hard to get rid of it. But we just have to admit it's a horrible contract. And Deshaun Watson again, and I know last time there was some technicality, he was proven whatever, right? This is a pattern now. It's no longer, oh, well, it's just a one-time thing, oh, misunderstanding it. No. This is a pattern behavior. If you have more people coming forward with whatever the nonsense that he's doing, it's over. Let's just admit it right now. He's a predator. He's annoying. He's a bad person. Why we still allow this guy in the NFL, I have no clue. I have no clue why.
And to your first point, he settled the most of those cases the first time. I think only one went unsettled. Listen, this is not a good time for Deshaun Watson and the Browns. But I want to say this: while Deshaun Watson doesn't deserve the contract he got based on the actions and the heinous actions, the Cleveland Browns don't deserve a way out of this contract either, because you knew what you were doing. You knew what you were getting into when you acquired the guy. So whether they can get out of the contract or whatever it is they think they could do, if I'm Roger Goodell, no, you knew what you were doing
Right.
the whole time. And to Dan's your other point, he's not a listen. These actions, your as an individual, actions have consequences. He served his however long the suspension was the first time. And the NFL this time, however this occurs, the NFL can't go easy on him this time. So this is where the NFL and Roger Goodell, they're gonna have to put the hammer down.
But I don't think they are. I don't think that there's not enough to just do that right now. That's the thing.
We all saw what Deshaun Watson came out and did against Dallas last week. I don't even think he could have beaten the Jets last week. No offense, Stan. The way he was playing.
But that's the other part of that too. This isn't a one-time thing. Remember, he got outplayed last year by Joe Flacco. And Joe Flacco's the one who took Cleveland to the playoffs, not Deshaun Watson. And, we talk about players and coaches who have pressure on them. Deshaun Watson, for me, topped the list. Go out and play like that. Now you got this thing coming back to haunt Tim. What matters? Does football matter or not? Because right now, if you're Deshaun Watson, it's not a good look. So Tony Busby, who was the attorney for the bulk of the women who accused Watson the first time, he's also the attorney representing the Jane Doe in this case, said his client plans to meet with the NFL within the next 2 weeks and will have pertinent video to show the league. A source tells CBS Sports the NFL initiated contact with Busby shortly after he filed the lawsuit. NFL Special Counsel for Investigations, Lisa Friel, will lead the investigation, and a source said the interview with the accuser likely won't take place until October. Typically, in an NFL investigation, the accused player is interviewed toward the end of the process. There's currently no timeline when Watson would talk to potential investigators.
So So this is going to drag on throughout the season.
This is gonna drag.
I mean, look, I, I know the contracts is going to be tough to get rid of, whatever, or even just to kill, but the Browns don't need this type of crap. They don't. And look, they're already one of the worst franchises in NFL history. Like they're terrible. They are terrible, but they don't need this crap. They need to move forward. And you know, look, I get it. You tried your best with this Deshaun thing. You really wanted him. It's not working out. There's just too much of, and this is the thing I was saying before. When I just don't think it's that worth of a headache to deal with.
You're right. It's not worth the headache, but here's the problem. They wanted to sweep this whole first part under the rug. They didn't care. They went all in for it. They said to the Texans, "We'll give you whatever you want, and then we're going to make Deshaun Watson this fully guaranteed deal." The Cleveland Browns deserve as much blame for this as Deshaun Watson does. Now, organizationally, you can't blame them for his actions, but you knew what you were getting into.
Yeah.
And you deserve every bit you get because you acted like, hey, we got Deshaun Watson, we're going to be good. Well,
That still hasn't happened, by the way.
Look, and this time it may come back to bite you in the rear end.
He's proven nothing. And that's another thing with Deshaun Watson. He has done nothing. Nothing for Cleveland.
He hasn't done anything since he took the Texans to the AFC title game against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to go further, he hasn't done anything since he led Clemson.
Well, I don't think it's fair. He's done plenty for Houston, but excuse me. But for Cleveland, no way.
All right. So, latest on Deshaun Watson. We'll try to keep you updated on that situation as it moves along. But week 2 started on Thursday night, which saw the Bills decimate the Dolphins 31-10. And it wasn't the Josh Allen show. It was the James Cook show. James Cook, 3 touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 receiving. Josh Allen was 13 of 19 for 139 and a touchdown. James Cook, 78 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. For the Dolphins, we'll get into the Tua stuff in a minute. I'm just going to go over his stats. 17 25, 145 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. Mark's guy, Devon Achane, 96 yards rushing, 69 yards receiving, and a touchdown. I want to start with the Bills side, and then we can get into the Tua stuff. Because all offseason, all the pundits and all the fools were saying the Bills are taking a step back this year. Now, I never bought into that just because, to quote the nature boy Ric Flair, to be the man, you have to beat the man. And this was a real opportunity for the Dolphins to beat the man and show them that they are a team to be reckoned with. And the Bills once again flexed their muscle, which I think is the 11th time in 12 meetings between the two franchises.
They are called the Big Daddy Bills. The Big Daddy Bills. All the Dolphins can do is lay on the bottom and call the Bills daddy. That is just the case. Josh Allen continues. I know he didn't really do much. He didn't have to. But Josh Allen continues to torch this Miami defense for whatever reason. And then on top of that, You said the performance of James Cook. James Cook was just spectacular.
Yeah,
And then
got certain
obviously,
people fantasy points.
yeah, it's fantastic. And then the Buffalo defense as
Yeah.
well coming through big.
Well,
And look, when people kept saying that the Jets were going to win the division, I said, "Are you out of your mind? You have a team that's on the western side of New York State that still has a chip on their shoulder. They've been here and done that before. They may not have the same players, but that does not mean it does
Yeah.
not mean that they're done. So I don't know what people were thinking when they were saying, "Oh, the Buffaloes, their reign is done." Their reign ain't done yet until we see that it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, to your point about the defense too, Sean McDermott
Yeah.
and Brian Babbage, I hope I'm saying that right, had a great game plan. And that was, we are not going to let Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill beat us over the top. And honestly, they didn't do
Well,
anything.
they were non-factors.
They were non-factors. Well, yeah, they were non-factor factors.
I did not see them all night,
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
yeah. You're right. They were non-factors. So that was a great game plan defensively.
Yeah.
And then the other part for me, you ask why Josh Allen owns Dolphins. Well, there's two reasons. One, the Dolphins don't get to him. They don't get pressure. Nothing. Josh Allen was about as clean as clean you could get playing football. The other thing, he extends the play with his legs. And if you go back and watch the game, I think it was the second Cook touchdown. There's a third and I think it's 7. He extends the play. He hits Ty Johnson for a big gain and a first down. Next play, boom, James Cook 1 yard. But it happens because Josh Allen extends the play. I ultimately think one of the best things that the Bills could have done was get rid of Stephon Diggs, because now Josh Allen doesn't have to force the ball to anybody. He could go out there, do what he's got to do. They have playmakers galore with James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, who's going to be really something. And then Khalil Shakir kind of reminds me of the Bills version of a Victor Cruz, a slot guy who can make big plays. He's kind of got that kind of upside. I still like this team, Mark.
It's your team, Mike. It's Miami Dolphins. You can like them all you want, but the Buffalo Bills, Nate can like, and Nate can tease you all he wants. He gets that privilege now that he's 1-0 up on you. I agree with what you had to say regarding the fact that I think they were better off with Stephon Diggs leaving. Given the fact now that Josh Allen doesn't have it on the sidelines, give me the ball, the Keyshawn Johnson reference. Just give me the ball. He's now turning playmakers into anybody. It's nice to have a running back in James Cook. The defense played very well. Can't say they didn't. And Tua, yet again, is probably going to miss half the season.
Oh, let's dive into that part now, because third quarter, third down, he wound up getting the first down, but he took a hit from Damar Hamlin of
all people.
Was it really a hit? It was more of just a collision, because Damar Hamlin didn't do anything; he just stood there basically.
Yeah,
To a state,
it was. I think it was more. Look, he collided with him.
Right?
He did.
Yeah, it's a
It
collision.
was more Tua's head collision than a Damar Hamlin coming at him. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And so Tua stayed down. He was able to get up under his own power. He did suffer another concussion.
But of course, that was after he was laying there for God knows how long.
He was laying there for a few seconds.
Once again, his arms in a fencing position, seizing. He didn't have a seizure, by the way, but
it was not as bad as the one he suffered 2 years ago in Cincinnati.
Yes,
Like that needs to be.
Horrible.
He was able to walk off under his own power, stayed in the locker room.
Mm.
According to Mike McDaniel, when the guys came into the locker room after the game, uh, Tua tried to keep everyone's spirits high. I don't know if you guys caught this with Tua walking off the field, but Mike McDaniel kind of kisses Tua on the head as they're walking on.
Yeah, they have a special
They
relationship.
do, and the next thing that comes, people are going to talk about is what happens next. Should he retire? Should he not? News is Tua's going to meet with neurologists next week to determine the next steps of what should happen. But I will say this: if it were my decision for him, I think it would be time to hang him up.
Yeah.
You're 26 years old. You're younger than all three of us.
Yeah.
You got two kids, a family. I'm sure there is a spot within the Dolphin organization to where they could keep you on board. Just have your health and safety prioritized before we go into anything else. So if it were up to me, I would say retire. But again, not our call.
Yeah, he's had 3 reported concussions, and I believe like 4, at least 4 for sure. Um, I don't want to tell the kid stop playing if he wants to play. It's ultimately up to him. But man, I just don't know. Like, how many more times can you risk playing this game, knowing that, look, we know the dangers of, traumatic brain injuries, the CTE, dementia, Alzheimer's, all that type of neurological stuff, that can happen. Obviously, some of those diseases can happen whether you had any type of brain injuries or not. But we all know that it can cause some really, really degenerative stuff here. And I just think that Tua needs to really, really, really consider his health. He needs to think about his body. He needs to think about the risk. He needs to think about, is it worth it? Because so far, look, I don't want to be the guy to, dash his dreams, but so far in the NFL, he hasn't really done much with the Dolphins. He really hasn't. It was a bunch of up and down years until we got it, until the Dolphins got Mike McDaniel, and all of a sudden they started surging. But at that point, Tua has already had concussions and is already at risk of having more. And I don't know how long this is going to take for him to recover. It's going to be a while. But man, he really needs to consider his health. And, for himself, for his family, give yourself at least some type of chance and opportunity. But again, I don't want to tell him stop playing, because if he truly loves the game, he wouldn't care. And that's the part that sucks.
If you look at the quarterbacks during my heyday, Aikman, Steve Young, Randall Cunningham, all of them, they didn't have the advantages of knowing what we know now. Aikman had over 9 concussions, Steve Young over Randall Cunningham. And then you look at the players today who've taken hits, and the concussions have all become harder hit, such as for 2 or 3 in 2 years. It becomes when our teams be held accountable.
Look at Luke Kuechly. He retired young not because he suffered a concussion, because of fear of concussions. So, but you can continue your point, Mark. Sorry for interrupting.
No. My point is that football is a dangerous sport. They've tried to make the rules adjusted to protect the quarterback.
Hasn't
They've
worked.
tried making the rules adjusted to protect the quarterback now a number of times. It's just not working. I understand the player's life is worth much more than the ball he throws,
Yeah.
but it's football. They will and freely know they're gonna get hit. The hit is gonna be by some behemoth.
But we're getting to the point now with what we know about the head injuries.
Yeah.
That where there may be a day where the guardian caps that certain guys, were wearing during practice, they're going to become mandatory.
Good. I think that's a step in the right direction.
But is that a step in the right direction? I mean, we tried so many different things to make this game safer, right? And it really hasn't worked. And look, sure, if you want to try, maybe make a makeshift helmet that has those guardian thingies, fine. But ultimately, it's a violent sport. This is the risk. The hockey, the same thing. It's a violent sport. You're gonna get banged up, right? Football, violent sport. You're gonna get banged up. Like there's always risk for that. You know, so I really don't know how much more safety measures uh can really help these players, especially on the quarterback side. And quarterbacks, I mean, they get some really devastating hits sometimes.
Well, the safer we're going to get is putting flags on them. Or we're going to go like that South Park episode and turn it into Sarcastaball. So the question is, what do the Dolphins do next at quarterback? They have Skylar Thompson. Most likely he'll start next week in Seattle, but wait and see.
Do you trust Skylar Thompson?
No.
Like, come on now.
So I listen, and I was actually going to say this as an article, but we could talk it out here. I really think there's one option, and it isn't even Ryan Tannehill.
Okay, I was about to say.
I'm going to call the Los Angeles Rams and see what the price tag is on Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, who knows this system, as he played for McDaniel in San Francisco. He's probably not under contract for next year anyway. So if you think this has a chance, maybe you go rent Jimmy Garoppolo. Or you try to convince Tom Brady to come out of retirement. I don't know how that works with his stake of the Raiders, though.
Yeah, no.
They'll tuck him under the field.
Yeah. I really think, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is an interesting one. Ryan Tannehill is always on top of my list. It just can't be Thompson. It really can't be Skylar Thompson. That's the problem.
As long as Dan Marino doesn't have those same issues he does in those Tostito commercials where he can't read the play, maybe you can convince Dan Marino to come out of retirement.
God, he's too old, bro. No way.
But they're gonna have to find something or somebody to upgrade that position. It's that simple. I think the only free agent really out there is Tannehill, but I think I'd rather give up the draft pick for Garoppolo than I would.
I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea, but if the Dolphins don't want to go that route, then getting someone like a Brian Tannehill who's not under contract, who's not, it's just an easy pickup.
Whatever happened to the kid from the NFL 60 commercials with Cam Newton who was warming up his arm? Is that kid finally ready to play or what? Maybe that kid could be the quarterback.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so there you go. Bills go to 2-0. The Dolphins go to 1-1 on the season. All right. In what should be an interesting game this afternoon in Kansas City, the Cincinnati Bengals look to avoid to start 0-2 when they visit the Chiefs. And we got some Bengals players talking some smack
Mhm.
this week. Cam Taylor Britt said about a rookie Chief receiver, Xavier Worthy, all he can do really well is run straight. The Bengals, listen, Mark, I don't know about you. I would not want to poke the Kansas City Chiefs.
See, here's the thing. You have to poke the Kansas City Chiefs. Because if you don't play them at their best, how do you know you beat them at their best?
But you're 0-1. Do you really want to poke that bear?
But it, my thing is they have to do something to intimidate them. You're not going to intimidate them on the field. They're not going to care. But if you look, and look, the best thing the Chiefs can do is just ignore and just play and just do well on the field anyway. But for the Bengals, they're just trying to stir it up because they want to win. And they also have to prove it on the field as well. And track record shows that the Chiefs and Bengals, they're always big time matchups. Like they're fairly close.
Yep.
And the Bengals know how to play the Chiefs. So in a way, it can be very intimidating for Kansas City. They may not admit to that, but knowing that the Bengals always have their number, any way that intimidates them, it's going to be a problem for them.
I think the one thing that is, and remember, they're probably going to be down T. Higgins today. He's still ruled as doubtful of the hamstring. The Bengals got a lot going on, man. For a team that a lot of us had a high expectation for, and I still hold them to that high expectation. But they couldn't get T. Higgins locked up. They couldn't get the Jamar Chase contract done, which,
Yeah.
by the way, that's going to continue to linger for a while because Chase now says he won't negotiate in season. And now you lose a game to the New England Patriots that you probably shouldn't have lost. And now you're on the road at the defending Super Bowl champs, not looking to start 0-2. I blame this on one thing and one thing only. Joe Burrow should have never dyed his hair blonde. Come on, Joe, you're better than that. But this team needs a big win. I don't know if they get it today in Kansas City. I'm just letting you know right now. Wouldn't poke the bear.
It depends on which version of Travis Kelce shows up today. That's going to be the difference in this game because his first game was kind of lackluster. He came out like a nobody. Like Xavier Worthy had been doing it all along. The guy's a rookie. Travis Kelce needs to reestablish his stardom and the focus of the receiving corps.
Well, I think it's funny you mentioned Kelce because Worthy had that great first week, as did Rashee Rice. And so now you look at it and go, okay, Rashee Rice went over 100 yards. Worthy had the 2 touchdowns. Travis Kelce had 3 catches for, I think, 35 yards, something like that. All of a sudden, and then you add in what Pacheco could do. This Chief offense is molding into something different from what it's been, where Kelce's been a massive focal point, but when the time is coming, you know he's going to get the ball.
Right.
So there's that. All right. So let's keep jumping around here. Another game, 4 o'clock hour. America's team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, travel to Denver to play the Broncos in what could have been a Russell Wilson revenge game. Looks like Justin Fields gets another start. So, Mark, I'll throw this one to you. Russ is, I believe, listed as questionable with that calf injury.
You're correct.
Who do you roll with? Do you roll with Fields or do you try the Russ revenge game? But I want to caveat something here. If it's Fields and Fields plays well, how long is his leash going forward?
Okay. To answer your question, it's a three-prong attack. One, it should be Justin Fields. If Russell Wilson has any doubt, meaning his calf and whatnot is a problem, he shouldn't be starting. Two, you're playing Denver. You better beat Denver. And I think Justin Fields, the real Justin Fields, stands up today and shows what it is. Will we see Russell Wilson today? Probably not, unless something really goes wrong. And if that happens, you might not see Justin Fields anywhere for a while either.
So if Fields plays well, that leash is a little bit longer, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, Dan.
I don't know. I don't even think there is a leash. I think it's Fields' job to lose. I think it belongs to him. You know, it's under very unfortunate circumstances, of course, but you know, I don't think they're going to move on anytime soon. You know, especially if he continue. I know he hasn't moved offense very well. He didn't do it, in week one, but he was serviceable enough. And if he moves offense again, um, week two against Denver does better. I mean, that's just me. Like I don't even think about it.
This is why you should have gotten one and not both. Because now that's
Insurance
why.
policy. It was insurance policy.
No, I get that it's an insurance policy, but both of these guys have so much to prove that it's like, well, just
What
doesn't
happens if
play.
they both get hurt?
Terry Bradshaw's coming out of retirement.
No, they should sign Mike White from the Bills practice squad.
There could be that as well. I just wonder about, for Fields' sake, because Fields is the guy who could be your long-term guy, and he's also the guy who's going to hit the market next year. If Russell Wilson comes in, Russell Wilson's not your quarterback for the next 4 or 5 years. We know that.
Yeah.
So it's imperative of Justin Fields to play well and not give up that starting quarterback role. And then Russell Wilson's kind of stuck in the middle. And at the trade deadline, some team's going to say, oh, hey, we'll trade you a 5th-round pick for Russell Wilson.
For insurance for them, and
Who's
they'll be at that point.
Right. So I think I just stick this out with Fields just to hope he's your long-term answer. But hey, the Steelers might wind up starting 2-0 because, well, they beat the Falcons by just kicking field goals last week. Damn Falcons. All right, Mark. What 0-1 team needs a win the most this week?
The New York Jets. And
Ooh.
let me tell you why. The first game was a prime time matchup to show Aaron Rodgers and what he could do. And he really, to me, this wasn't Aaron Rodgers-esque. This was Aaron Rodgers getting a tune-up. This is the perfect game for him to come back. We've seen Aaron Rodgers before come back after an injury and have a good season. We've seen Aaron Rodgers play horribly, but I think this New York Jets team going to play against the Titans, This is the right game. The Titans aren't a strong team. You want to remember them all you want. Remember them for how you're going to beat them today. This is the game in which Aaron Rodgers goes off for 4 touchdowns and Garrett Wilson has 150 yards receiving and Brees Hall has 100 yards on the ground. Jets blow this game out of the proportion. I would take the over in this game.
Oh boy.
Music to Dan's brother's ears, who's gonna be there.
It's the team on my head. Yeah, it's there's no question about it. By the way, I thought Aaron Rodgers was fine. Look, he's coming off an injury. Like, he threw 2 touchdowns. Well, he didn't throw 2 touchdowns. He led 2 touchdown drives. Let me make that correction. Now look, I think that Mark is right. Aaron Rodgers is not as mobile. Again, it could just be, he hasn't played in over a year. So, it could just be that, but he's obviously not as mobile as he used to be. And, his skills are going to be limited because he's much older. But I am very impressed with how he can still, manage an offense pretty well. And that he can still, make changes at the line of scrimmage, change up the plays and stuff and all that. So I'm just really glad that he can still do that and still move the offense well. The big thing here is we got to get more players involved. You have Mike Williams, get him more involved. You have that young kid, Braylon Allen, let him get involved besides Breeze. And obviously you can incorporate Garrett Wilson. You always have to incorporate him and stuff. But yeah, like, I would almost dare the New York Jets to, especially on defense. This is the big thing for the defense. Defense has to come through. I would almost dare the defense to make Will Levis beat them.
Oh, 100%.
Because look, because they're probably thinking over in Tennessee, we saw your performance in San Francisco, and we have more confidence to beat you now. I was like, oh, cool, then beat me. And they have to come out and they have to prove it. And I think that's the best way to prove it, is to make him try to make the plays. And then, of course, the New York Jets are, if that's the case, then advantage Jets, because we all know their DBs are great. The line wasn't that good against San Francisco. They were all over the place. But so like, it's all about making Will Levis beat you, right? So that's the two things. Get the offense involved, get the wide receivers involved, more long passes for sure. Not all the time, but more long passes, try to make big plays. And then on defense, it's all about getting the quarterback to second guess and make him think a little bit.
And for the defense, they have to tackle better.
Yeah.
Tackling was abysmal Monday.
Yeah, well, the pass rusher's not there. That's the problem. He's holding out.
Well, I mean, that's listen, you lose this game, he's got all the leverage in the world.
Yep.
So it's like, so if I'm McDonald or Clemens or whoever, go out there, get to the quarterback.
Get Quinn Williams as well.
Quinn Williams, yeah. Quincy, can someone's got to do it.
Yeah, so these guys rolling with the Jets. And
CJ Mosley, he didn't have a good game either against San Francisco.
Did anyone have a good game against San Francisco? I mean,
I don't believe so.
Aaron Rodgers.
No.
I was talking more about the defense. So.
Well, no, they're not. Well, Sauce had 2 targets and no one catched the ball.
He also was out of the game for a few plays. I don't know if that was
which is absurd. Never again. Never again. Apparently he was fine. Never again. I don't know what Robert Saleh. That's another thing about Robert Saleh. this whole system nonsense that he's doing here, gotta stop.
It
Start
doesn't make
playing
sense.
man. Start playing man more. You have, again, we talked about daring Will Levis to beat you. Use your best guys.
Who do you put Sauce on? Do you put him on Ridley or do you have him follow Hopkins?
Does it matter?
No. I'm just asking you what you would do.
Well, I don't think it matters. I think they're both going to be big targets anyway.
No,
I mean,
I'm
if
just throwing the
anything,
question.
if anything, Hopkins, but I don't know.
Oh, you don't think matters? It doesn't matter. I was just curious if you had a thought on that.
No, I don't care.
All right, for me, it's ironic because I'm gonna go in the spotlight of two teams who are actually playing each other.
Yeah.
Both the Browns and the Jaguars can ill afford to start 0-2. The Jaguars, based on what happened last week in their choke job against the Dolphins, based on their choke job at the end of last season, I'm a little leery on the Jaguars and how they play. I know they're down Calvin Ridley, but they brought in Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas. But I need Trevor Lawrence to be the game changer they think he's going to be. And on the other side of the ball, we talked about Deshaun Watson earlier, but nobody in Cleveland showed up last week against the Cowboys. The only person who probably showed up was Tom Brady to do the game. So, I mean, the Browns need to figure that thing out because that defense was top 5 last year, was not good.
Got picked apart.
Offensively, they did nothing. I mean, they wait till they were down 20-3 to score a touchdown, third quarter. And look, they don't have Nick Chubb right now, but they need to get it going for when they do get Nick Chubb back to have this balance on offense. So that game is one to watch. Jacksonville, Cleveland. In a year where most people are shocked to hear Jacksonville and Cleveland. All right. Let's start with that game as our games to talk, Mark. Browns, Jags.
I think this is another important game, like Mike said again, for Cleveland as much as Jacksonville. Both started off 0-1. I would have thought Jacksonville would have been 1-0. Kind of surprised that they are 0-1 with the weapons they have, but they just have not been able to put it together. Cleveland deserves to be where they were if they're saying they're going to beat Dallas coming in all week. It's their home field. No, that's what happens. You set yourself up into a trap game, and you get caught in it. So Dallas beat Cleveland, putting them where they are. But I do not believe this is going to be a high scoring game in the beginning. In the second half, that's when it's going to become a run over game.
All right. Dan, anything on Browns, Jags?
The Jaguars got to close games, man. One of the biggest problems that they had against the Dolphins was the fact that they allowed the Dolphins to stay in the game and that they couldn't finish it. It literally came down to the last second. That can't happen again. If you build up a lead against the Browns, take care of your lead and pounce. So that's my only concern is that you can't really trust the Jaguars to keep your lead. I know that was only week 1. This is only week 2, but that's the key is to make sure that you make the big plays and that you continue to build up your lead and then protect your lead. That's the big thing. And for the Browns can't start slow. They started off very slow against the Dallas Cowboys. And that backfired. The Dallas Cowboys are obviously a better team than the Jacksonville Jaguars. But that's my point is that you can't start slow because the minute you start slow, if the team takes advantage of that, you're done. You're dead as a doornail. So that's just me. Like,
if you're Cleveland and you start fast today,
yeah,
that pass rush could get to Trevor Lawrence. The Dolphins had success with that in the second half last week. They got to Trevor Lawrence.
yeah.
So I just wonder how Watson plays with this thing lingering over him again.
I,
If he,
I don't know. Like, that's another thing. Like,
yeah,
is it going to bother him?
I
It
don't know.
hasn't in
Like,
the past. He's continued to play on, or at least he tries to. Like, I
yeah.
truly think he tries to move forward without it becoming a big distraction.
But if he's as bad as he was last week and he
Yeah.
was brutal,
Hmm.
that's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all right, Mark, we got a playoff rematch in Detroit with the Bucks and the Lions in what should be a very high scoring game.
It should be. Yes, it is a rematch from last year, but I think you're going to see a revenge game here, and Detroit is going to come out and stomp the Bucks
The
right back under
Bunks.
right back under the ocean. Look for Jared Goff and Jameer Gibbs along Montgomery to control this offensive flow. Look for Amara St. Brown to get really started today. Watch for the increasing play of Jamison Williams as he's going to have a big day. I think Detroit comes out and shows you who they are again this year in this game.
Dan.
So I'm expecting, especially on the Bucks side, I'm expecting a lot of offense.
Mm-hmm.
For the Lions, I'm also expecting their defense to come through as well. However, the Bucks offense looks pretty solid, looks pretty dangerous. And Baker Mayfield, I think you're starting to see Baker Mayfield. It took a long time, but I think you're starting to see him get to another level of being a quarterback, an elite quarterback in the league. And I don't want to do an overreaction because it was against the Washington Commanders, but I saw a Baker Mayfield I've never seen before. Someone that's confident, someone that, can get the ball to his playmakers, that understands the situation. You know, elite quarterbacks can do that. I think
Right.
Baker Mayfield's on a different level. And that's something for the Lions to watch out for, something that they can't really sleep on.
And the Lions corners last week were burned by Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield's got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Those young corners, Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rakestraw, they're going to have to play really well. Carlton Davis, the former Buck, as well.
Mhm.
Run game might be optional for both
Yeah.
of these teams.
And as a leader on defense, Hutchinson also needs to, lead the charge there and try to get to Baker Mayfield, try to make him sweat.
Mhm.
That can
Yes.
be a very difficult task for him.
And Vita Vea on the other side for the Bucks is going to have to make life difficult for Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yeah,
Something that the Lions were able to do last week against the Rams without Aaron Donald.
yeah. Now in the second half, I was not very impressed with Jared Goff's performance as a quarterback. Uh, maybe I'm just overthinking things. Maybe the Rams figured it out and they got to him. But if we're gonna get piss poor performances out of Jared Goff in the second half, that might be a major thing for the Bucks to see and possibly, just look at and hopefully make that their big game plan.
Right.
Another one we got the Niners and the Vikings. CM Christian McCaffrey does go on IR. He's going to
Yeah,
miss the next 4 weeks.
yeah, that was inevitable, by the way.
Yeah, that
We
that
we knew
was
once it was calf Achilles. I'm like, that's a tough injury to come back from. So
the Madden curse remains undefeated.
Yes, it does.
But but the guy I want to talk about, I don't want listen, we know the Niners are good. We know they're a Super Bowl contender. The Vikings last week, I know it was the Giants, But Sam Darnold played really well and did not look like the guy who was seeing ghosts.
But Sam Darnold, we always knew he would be this good. That's why I wanted the Jets to keep him
Yeah.
because of this. Now, of course, I don't knowing that we have Robert Saleh now, but he would have been terrible under Saleh. But with the
Val would
right
have been jealous of the
coaching,
hair.
with the right coaching,
Yeah.
right offensive system, Sam Darnold's a beast, dude. Like, come on now. Are we gonna forget that he could pass very well? That he can make some really nice throws, that he could make good decisions, and that he could also run. He's mobile.
And I think the thing that's interesting is he went to Carolina for that 1 year. Him and Baker split duty, and it was terrible.
Yeah, well, that was Matt Rule. Matt Rule.
No, I get it. I'm not blaming him. Then he goes to San Francisco last year and he sits on the bench behind Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, okay, that's an interesting thought process.
Yeah.
Put yourself as a backup. Now he goes to Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell comes from that Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay tree, and he's able to unleash Sam Darnold. Now, it doesn't hurt that he has Justin Jefferson, but that's what you want to see from Sam Darnold. Just don't turn the ball over, and you're going to be fine. And that was his issue with the Jets. He just turned the ball over too much.
His issue with the Jets, he had Adam Gase. That was the
I mean, that's
like
a lot of people.
Adam Gase was coaching. He didn't have a real offensive coordinator. He also had Todd Bowles for one season. Like everything about the development with the Jets was just wrong. It was just bad. Like so that's why I don't that's why I give a lot of grace to Darnold, even though he didn't have a good time in Carolina. He was terrible with the Panthers. He was really bad. But I give him a lot of grace. And well, I mean, look again, the Giants suck, but look, he still showed why he could still be somewhat of a good quarterback that could manage an offense.
He will be down Jordan Addison today, out with an ankle injury.
That's going to be rough.
But he's not even the key to the game today. The key is Aaron Jones.
Yes.
You want to keep Brock Purdy and company off the field.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the Niners. They're coached well.
Oh, yeah.
Defensively, offensively. They have been there many times, done that many times. Unfortunately, they can't get the big game. They just cannot get that one big game.
Here was the thing that really surprised me Monday night. Trent Williams signed 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he played every snap.
Yeah. And then that guy that's filling in for McCaffrey, the Mason dude, or whatever.
Jordan Mason.
Yeah.
Undrafted. And he's
Georgia Tech legend.
Butts. They're well coached and they have a really good system down in San Francisco.
You know who else has a really good system? The New Orleans Saints. Yes. Their systems are great when they play the Carolina Panthers. But Mark, that's not who they play today.
No, the Saints come into good old Arlington, Texas to take on the 1-0 Dallas Cowboys, led by the number one top paying quarterback, Dak Prescott, in which will be an interesting game after the way we saw the Saints come out and play last week. Came out and played pretty fast. I don't think it's going to be as easy as them playing the Carolina Panthers last week. Because no offense to the Carolina Panthers, they're a marshmallow of a team. There's no defense.
No offense to the Carolina Panthers.
There's no defense. I think this is going to be a little bit of a culture shock for Sam Darnold and not Sam Darnold, for Derek Carr, and he might be missing the ghost that Sam Darnold saw. That's what I was going with that.
Didn't know Bill Belichick was still wandering the hallways of Dallas.
Derek Carr's a beast, man. You know, the Saints aren't look. The Saints play like a great team, but again, they had a major advantage in week one. Now they face Dallas. This is a really big test. Facing Dallas. I mean, they had an outstanding game against the Cleveland Browns, and first game at Jerry World. I mean, look, let's be honest. Do you think the Dallas Cowboys want to lose in Dallas? No.
With Tom Brady on the call.
It's a big deal. It's a big
Oh, it's
deal
a huge deal.
when you're playing at home. You don't want to disappoint your fans. How many times have the Cowboys disappointed their fans at home?
Well,
You know?
the last time the Cowboys had a home game, the Green Bay Packers ran all over them.
Too many disappointments in big games. So this is a big game. Um, ultimately Dallas wins this one. They're just better. But New Orleans, I'm very curious to see how they actually play this team. What their game plan truly is. I mean, I don't know. Like I think they just got lucky with the schedule in week one.
Well,
Oh,
you're right. Like, how do you judge them? They played the Panthers,
yeah.
and now you're going up against the Dallas Cowboys. So in reality, you're playing the worst of the worst, and then one of the top teams in the league. There's no middle ground for the Saints here. So Derek Carr just can't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Defensively, they're going to have to get off the field on third downs.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Marshawn Lattimore CeeDee Lamb matchup.
Okay.
That is going to be very intriguing. And maybe, get Brandon Cooks involved because it's a Brandon Cooks revenge game. Also, they have not announced if Jake Ferguson is playing yet or not. So that could be a big loss for the Cowboys, too.
Yes.
All right. Talked a little bit about the Steelers and the Broncos already. And we talked a little bit about the Bengals and the Chiefs as well. So we're going to jump around Sunday night, where Chris Collinsworth will tell you here's a guy. Mark, your boy Caleb Williams against your other guy, CJ Stroud.
This is the game I think a lot of us have all been waiting for. The best of this year against the best of last year. That's how it has to be pinned up because that's what it is right now. This is a game in which Houston should be able to come out and direct which way the game is going to go. If Houston doesn't come out and play like they did in week one, Chicago's going to find ways around it. Now, maybe we'll see the Chicago offense maybe score here and not just the defense, but you never know with this team. It's a rookie team. I think Houston is going out and it's going to go out for another big win right here.
I'm glad to see Caleb Williams get his rookie jitters out of the way and say that he was responsible for their first win, even though he wasn't. He wasn't even close. Um, but I'm excited about this matchup. Two young quarterbacks going at each other. Um, I think the Texans though are probably 3 steps ahead, and I think that's the difference. I think the Texans have a good coaching staff. Not saying that the Bears don't, but right now Houston, I think, is steps above Chicago right now, and I know they're ready. They're just ready to just own their asses.
Here's the thing about the Bears. Offensively, last week they were not great.
They're terrible.
Yeah, and that's putting it lightly. That was against a Titan defense that was middle of the pack most of last year. Different animal with the Texans. So here's the game plan. You're gonna want to run the ball, keep CJ Stroud off the field, but man, that trio at receiver that the Texans have
Mhm.
with Diggs, Collins, and Tank Dell. Oh boy,
I mean, how good
I,
is Stephon Diggs?
he's good. Intrigued about how the Bears are going to play Jalen Johnson. You line him up on Diggs. You try to take Nico Collins away. That's going to be an interesting matchup. How Matt Eberflus wants to play CJ Stroud, I think, is very interesting as well. But I think the other thing is Caleb Williams has to just learn to throw some balls away. He didn't do it last week
Yeah.
because this week, Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, they're pretty good on the edges in Houston. So that's your Sunday night game. Your Monday night game, Mark's favorite quarterback of all time, Kirk Cousins, against his favorite running back of all time, Saquon Barkley and the Eagles.
Might be the one football game I don't watch all year.
Yeah, well, you're going to be probably tied with the Eagles at 2-0 of the NFC East.
Kirk Cousins is such a joke. He should not be playing football
You should be a lawyer.
with the amount of injuries he be in.
Oh,
Yes, he should be a personal injury attorney.
'Cause
Hi,
I
I'm Kurt Warner, and if you're with me this season, expect to be injured with either be your knee, your head, or your shoulder.
as much as I love Kirk Cousins, and I am the Kirk Cousins apologist, Kirk Cousins doesn't play well in these primetime games. I think Philly makes a big statement.
yeah, and Kirk Cousins. There's a reason why the Vikings wanted out on the Kirk Cousins sweepstakes. Uh, they were out when they got him. That's how bad it was. But look, ultimately, the Eagles, if they continue that formula that was formed in week one in Brazil and they expand it, maybe not as many touchdowns for Saquon, but still he gets very, very much involved with the offense, and start dishing it out to more of your big time playmakers. This should be a cakewalk for the Eagles, man. I mean, there should be no reason why they can't beat the Falcons.
There was a positive from the Falcons last week. Kyle Pitts scored a touchdown.
Yes.
That is major, actually. Yes.
Yeah. So those are the games to preview. Mark, who's your fantasy player of the day?
My fantasy player of the day is the one and only CD Lamb. He's going to have 9 receptions, 125 yards, and 2 scores.
All right, Dan.
My big time fantasy player of the day. I really, really love Dak Prescott to come out and be strong for his Cowboys today. At home, fresh off a new contract, ready to prove to the NFL he is number one. Now, I don't think he's number one, but he wants people to think that. So, give me Dak Prescott.
All right. I'm not going with a particular player. Anybody who you could possibly play that wears a Los Angeles Chargers jersey, you play them because they are going to obliterate the Panthers today. Thank you, Jim Harbaugh. And Michigan beat Arkansas State. This might be like that. Oh, yeah. So if you got any Chargers, especially the defense, play them. Play them. All right. That'll do it for Sunday's Sideline Report here on the SIN YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and hit the belly thing for notifications. For the socials, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter at @SInsanityReal. Check out the website, www.thesportsinsanitynetwork.com, Great blogs, vlogs, planes, trains, and automobiles. Thursday night gridiron will air Thursday before I believe it's Patriots Jets. And until next week, for the old ops guy, for Danny Boy Reginald, I'm Mike Rifkin. Enjoy your football Sunday, everybody. Then take a nap.